Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to the second part of our program on Studio Galaxy 473 in Confer. And this today, with second part, is pure politics. Remember, we have two sections in agriculture. The first one is agriculture. This time is pure politics. We provoke discussion. We believe that the time in Grenada, we have a democratic process. We must make use of it. We must ask questions. We must discuss issues. We need to be respectful to one another and exchange ideas. The number to call is 536-2558. We encourage you to share our program. Subscribe to Studio Galaxy and like our program. You just press the like button or the one with the finger. And a lot of people may not know much about the technology. We too learning today. We have a new technician, Joshua, today. Joshua is our new technician behind the control today. So we too learning. And the topic today is, why is it the Prime Minister of Grenada is inciting violence? We believe that our Prime Minister, Deacon Amos Mitchell, is inciting violence in Grenada. Why? When we make statements like that, we know the statement might sound outrageous to NDC militants. But we advance arguments, reasons, we draw reference and instances why we believe the Prime Minister of Grenada is inciting violence. Every country in the Caribbean is well aware of Grenada's tumultuous political history. Mr. Blaze described Grenada as milk on fire. He said, you watching it? You watching it? You watching it? As soon as you turn back, he boil up and fall. The Americans say, this country is a false scam. So one must be concerned. One must be shocked when a politician incites violence in Grenada. It's not that Dick Mitchell had a long history in politics. So people criticize him and that make him bitter, angry. Deacon just come in politics. He get it on a silver spoon. He won 9 seats. The same quantum distribution that took place in 1976. And by 1979, we had bloodshed. In 1976, an alliance in Grenada with Maurice Bishop, Bernard Code, Teddy Victor, the GNP, they join up together. They say we can't beat Gary. And they join up together. They say we have the youths. So we go take him this time. Gary is a wolf. He's a political wolf. Gary dropped the age of voting from 21 years to 18 years. And he was able to beat the people who say they have the youths. In 1976, there was election. Irrespective of all the accusation that there were irregularities, the alliance had a battery of lawyers. A battery of lawyers. Yet, they did not take one case to court. That is why I say the revolution was illegal, unjustified, and they wanted power at all costs. The court system was more likely to favor the alliance. Because remember, you're dealing with an individual that never went to secondary school. He was from the country, and he was considered as a little black boy. One of the most derogative political terms that could be used for you at that time. Just a little black boy getting in trouble. The alliance, all the accusation they made, they did not challenge it in court. Deacon Amos Mitchell came to power. Won 9 seats. And 2.5 to 3 years after, Deacon Mitchell is inciting violence. And Grenada seems to become, is this a false scam? If there was bloodshed in Grenada in 1976 election, by 1979, 3 years after, Bishop said was a bloodless revolution. But we know that is not true. They spray Brizan and other people died. But when Monkey writes his story, Monkey always right. Deacon won election. And a number of actions that had taken by the Deacon-led NDC group is encouraging violence. Very divisive, fractious. They refer to people in the most demeaning and disrespectful manner. It's the first time. It's the first time in Grenada history I saw so much senior public officers as militant politicos. You always have public officers that play in politics. Always. But it's the first time I saw senior public officers dressed in the battle yellow screaming out. Look at the fractious and divisive language of the NDC. Promoting classism, classless people. How do you feel? How would you feel if a minister in power refer to the community that you live in as classless people? How would you feel if a minister in power refer to you as commoners? How would you feel if a minister in power refer to you as greedy and needy? How would you feel if a minister in power refer to you as lunatic and idiots? How would you feel if a minister in power referred to the people in his constituencies as good people and bad people? Would you be comfortable with this language? Do you consider this language as being divisive and fractious and uncalled for? How do you feel if a political activist, a known political activist that is associated with the present government, Deacon Amos Mitchell government, encouraging people to identify members of the public service who attend NNP activities? Tell me, how would you feel? Tell me how that makes sense. So that NNP members who are in the public service, they are warned by some NNP mouthpiece, don't attend NNP activities. How would you feel if low rank workers by July 5th, when the government won the election in June, by July 5th, receive letters because they wear insignia or garb or clothes that look green? How would you feel? Workers who work in the service between 3 to 19 years. How would you feel if the Ministry of Labor failed in getting a meeting with the union and the permanent secretary to address the challenge of these workers who are fired? Because the permanent secretary, who is considered as a political activist of the NDC, refused to come to the meeting. How would you feel? How would you feel when the matter was brought to Deacon Amos Mitchell? His advice was go to court. You're talking about workers who working under $1,000 a month, low rank workers who in union policy is not even considered as members of the union. They are more referred to in the union bargaining rights group. But the union don't even consider them as members. Although they're paying union dues, the union call it agency fee. An agency fee and union dues is the same quantum. And all go to the union. But that person perhaps didn't apply for membership. How would you feel? How would you feel if a prominent motivational speaker and mouthpiece of the National Democratic Congress is calling on to make armchair for the older NDC members that are more moderate? So the NDC have practically retired the moderate members. How do you feel if the prime minister of a country in a public address states that the only reason other people getting assistance because we don't know who the real NDC is? This is not Tevin Andrew that's speaking. This is not Ron that's speaking. This is not the sister I'd like to travel with you, Bo that's speaking. the Prime Minister of Grenada, in the presence of two other prime ministers in the Caribbean. How do you feel when the Prime Minister in the public domain is saying that members of the opposition should have dead? I believe all these things convince me that Grenada Prime Minister is inciting violence. How do you feel if you were not convinced? How do you feel with the Prime Minister attack and challenge and daring social media Bajan? Didn't you hear what he said? Go back and listen. The Prime Minister was inviting social media Bajan to take him on face to face. That social media Bajan will have to drink from a drunk at the on drugs to meet a Prime Minister face to face that is properly guarded with militant members who wish people starve and pound stone in the river and say a word to it. The Prime Minister was publicly. How do you feel when Jenny Simon complained that drones is used to intimidate her and the police seems to be on in with it? How do you feel? I want to chastise the two prime ministers that was there. Grenada, in 1951, the British government set down two battleships in Grenada to quell Skyward. And the Fraser family that was shot in St. David's, some say it was St. Lucian police. In 1983, Dominican, Jamaican, St. Lucian, Vincentian police and soldiers was in Grenada to keep the peace. So why is it we had two Caribbean leaders in Grenada when the Prime Minister was inciting violence against the opposition? When he speak about other people, he is speaking about NNP supporters. Why are we inciting? Why are we inciting, encouraging violence in Grenada? During the 4.5 years coup d'etat, as we experimented with socialism and Marxist-Leninism, Maurice Bishop signed the order for over 3,000 people and put them in prison without charge, without trial, and without an opportunity to defend themselves. 3,000 to 4,000 people flee Grenada. The most of them went to Trinidad. Every week, people were going on the boat. Let me give you one instance. Let me give the Prime Minister of Grenada one instance. Some young people, 17, 18, 16 years, was on the block. A young girl, 17, 16, 18 years, around their age group, she was in school with them. She was involved in the NYO. I think NYO is National Youth Organization. She stopped to talk to them for them to join the NYO. Or NU or whatever. One of the loudmouth youth say, we don't join in no group. Because all you jailing too much people in Tivoli and conference. The girl replied, you will hear from me. And she gone. When the conversation was finished, 6:30, everybody go home. The young man went home, go in the bed and lie down. And when morning come, his mother wake him up and say, you have to go to Trinidad. The boy say, what are you going to Trinidad for? The mother said, you did not hear what the girl tell you. You're going to hear from her. You don't know what that means. They have a car in the yard and put him in the dicky to hide him near the boat in Grenville, Trinidad. Spent 6 years in Trinidad. We come from a country with a false calm, like milk on fire. George Brizan say island of conflicts. Why is it are we tolerating Deacon Mitchell to incite violence? I want to call on Ron and Tevin. I like Ron. I believe he has great potential, but he among the wrong group of people. So he's becoming expendable. So I want to call on Ron and Tevin in Carrico. Deacon do broken. He harmony. And by the time Deacon leave politics, he might be a billionaire. Because he's likely to make over 30 million every year from the CBI program. You have a call on the line? Right, so we have a call on the line. We lost a caller? Okay. So he likely to become a billionaire. So Deacon could guard himself and protect himself. But Tevin, when you leave, would you be a millionaire? Would you be able to protect yourself from violence? You're young, so you don't know. Innocent Belmont was executed. Grenadians at that time may call names who soaked the bullet in poison. Who the gun came from. Who are the individuals? Some of you who live around that time would remember one of the publications that was out. Nobody knew who spread those papers. When you wake up in the morning, you might see papers on the road. They say revolution means bloodshed. Revolution means bloodshed. Stock up food. Those was the language. A lot of divisive language. A lot of demeaning language. A lot of fractious language. My question is, why Grenadians are so quiet when the Prime Minister of Grenada seems to be inciting violence? Why? This country needs to settle down. This country, if it is to grow, it needs a long period of peace. Do you want Dominican, St. Vincent, St. Lucia to send peacekeeping force in Grenada again? Do you want bloodshed in Grenada again? Go back to 1983. Maurice Bishop came on the radio and he talked about rumors that's spreading. And Bishop said, if you say Desi, you're locking up the heavy manners. Maurice Bishop hid behind women and children. He was a coward, but he was a good orator. Tall, handsome man based upon what we consider to be handsome. Women love him. And he speaks well. And the subject matter that he spoke on was pertinent at the time. We're fighting imperialism and neo-colonialism. You had the situation in South Africa. You have the Black Power movement. You had the Rastafarian movement. It was a period of time that Bishop was well respected in the international community among the people who were fighting colonialism and neo-colonialism. But Maurice Bishop was a coward. Every time, and this is why I say he's a coward, every time Bishop had a demonstration, he would not call a demonstration if there were not women and children. Because he was convinced that Eric Gary would never attack the demonstration because Gary loved children. Well, Gary built 28 schools in 13 and a half years. So Bishop knew that Gary was preoccupied with education. And after he built the schools, and these black children don't want to go to school because they're beating them, they're tanning the hide. That is the language they used to use. Tan the hide on the back. And 20 to 36 lash for an offense in school was not uncommon. Maurice Bishop knew that Gary introduced truancy officers to go to the communities and make certain children go to school. And Gary said, every year, we're going to drop the school fees by $5 till it becomes free. Maurice Bishop knew that. So you know Gary liked children. But Maurice Bishop always hide behind women and children. They had a demonstration for 1 month. After the British decided to give us independence on the 7th of February. 1 month demonstration. Even some people demonstrating objected to the obscenities that was used. Because one woman said, oh God, we have children among us. Maurice Bishop never believed in God. Atheists. Most communists are atheists. Let me repeat that. Most Marxist Leninist advocates are atheists. They don't believe in God. In some communities, the church is so powerful that is in their political interest to demolate, dilute, and manipulate the church. So in China have to agree if the Pope appoint a bishop. Or you could go and read up about the Falun Gong people. And those people they have in concentration camp in China today. Maurice Bishop hide behind women and children. Even when Bishop was on the foot, and he had already evoked the Angola option. So he knew that violence was pending. Bishop never let the women and children left his presence. He hid behind women and children. You don't have to believe me. Ask why Gemma Belma died. You don't have to believe me. Go and ask why Gemma Belma died. Jacqueline Kraft was pregnant. He could have get out of the room early and bargain for. But he used Jacqueline Kraft as a shield. When they out the cigarette on Bishop's body and he complained, they said, comrade, that's why you teach us. Because Bishop is to out his cigarette on the victim body. He was a criminal, but he was caught. He did not guts. He hid behind women and children. when Jacqueline Kerf appealed to the executioners that she was pregnant. That is why monkey do. Natural instinct monkey does show you the belly, the children. They just show the hunters, the children, don't kill them. But that time, the executors, the executioners knew that Maurice Bishop had already evoked the Angola option. So he was kill or be killed. Now, why do I say all this thing? Why do I say all this thing? Because Deacon Mitchell is inciting violence. Maybe he's gullible. Maybe he's naive. Maybe he thinks it's a storybook he's writing. But that is Grenada. Grenada don't obey logics. Why do you think the Governor General behaved the way she did? Why do you think the Governor General behaved the way she did? The Governor General comes from the oldest political family in Grenada. She is a political animal. Always negotiating from behind the scene. A political animal. She saw that our opportunity will be missed for the privilegencia to take root again. And the privilegencia in Grenada is prepared to take the ride on her back. The privilegencia in Grenada is prepared to ride on the back of any group to get back in power. They're always a small group. Their strength is in the negotiating skills, their clout, and their ability for money. They are not very strong with the public, but they will take a ride on the back. So Deacon opened the door for an opportunity for the Marxist-Leninists. In 1983, we had Codites and Bishopites. But right now, you don't have Codites and Bishopites. You have the Marxist-Leninists. We have the atheists. And those with sexual orientation that is presently very unattractive to the present status quo. When you put these three groups together, the privilegencia is prepared to take a ride on the back. They always believe that irrespective of what political environment they could survive. They have survived in Russia. You have the oligarchs. They survive in China. China has state-sponsored capitalism. And they believe they could survive in Grenada. To them, it's not about religion. So they prepare to take a ride on the back of Marxist-Leninism. And Deacon is inciting violence, hoping that some people or his opponents may die in the process. I dare and I challenge those institutions in Grenada and the leaders from Dominica, the two political leaders that come to Grenada, think again. Grenada doesn't obey logic. You like milk on fire. Island of conflict. The Americans say a false scam. The language that is used by the leadership in Grenada is very combative. Imagine you are Attorney General and Minister of Labor. Fine imaginary gun in the air. Shoot Babylon. Bobo. Even worse, Even worse, the Attorney General is a woman. So that behavior of that woman is not in keeping with the ladylike environment and expectations of the ordinary woman. But this is a liberal woman, a revolutionary woman. Imagine the Prime Minister of Grenada in the presence of the police making social media movie to wit what looks like a weed tree. When the Prime Minister knows that marijuana is illegal. Look at the language of the Prime Minister. Mother hen and chicken. Look at the language of Maurice Bishop. Mother hen. That's how we call Eugenia Charles. And yard fowl. You see the language? When Maurice Bishop said that in Grenada, Grenadians who passed through the airport in Barbados, the ordinary Bajan was very uncouth, very uncourteous to them. Damn them! Why? The writing is on the wall. Why is it these things are staring us before the eyes? And we're so quiet. Is this a false scam? Could we avoid it? I speak because I'm in tongue now. And I believe we could do more to encourage Deacon Amos Mitchell to change his course. He's a violent man. He's inciting violence. He's been very divisive to this country. He's giving hate fertilizer. You don't do that. The other Caribbean islands, the Prime Minister from Dominica, you're a senior. You ought to do better with this political juvenile. You need to counsel him and say to him, don't divide your country. That is what is happening. Instead of the Prime Minister negotiating with Donald Trump and pointing out the importance of the Cuban medical assistance in Grenada, look at where the Prime Minister is. Look at the combative language of the Grenada Prime Minister. How that could be right? This Prime Minister we have in Grenada have told more lies than all other political leaders put together. In 2 years, you have told more lies than all other political leaders put together. Fiscal responsibility seems to be a joke in Grenada. We flaunt the law and the regulation in the Grenada Development Bank with impunity. So why is it so much Grenadians is silent? I listened to Randall Robinson, an individual that I thought over the years that are very reasonable and objective. And it saddens my heart to see the behavior of Randall Robinson. He gave me the impression that if you can change them, join them. Where are our independent voices in Grenada to say, no, you're on the wrong path? If you remain silent, And the Prime Minister feels he can threaten social media Bajan. So he called him. He wants social media Bajan to meet him face to face. Well, you have to be stupid and twice. You have to be stupid twice. Because if you pass near this Prime Minister, he will instigate his political activists to beat you. He's a violent man. I believe evil is permitting to grow in Grenada and we remain silent. When Bishop Sidney Charles of the Catholic Church go to reason with Maurice Bishop, Maurice Bishop will invite him. I don't know the time, so I'm using an imaginary time. Let us suppose he invite Bishop Charles to come and see him 2 o'clock. And when Bishop Charles be 2, Maurice Bishop will cancel a meeting at 5. On several occasions, Bishop Charles appealed to Rome. Because at that time, a number of strong supporters of the church was in jail. And they started to go to Bishop Charles and ask him to intervene. So Bishop Charles felt compelled. And Bishop treated him with the scantiest of courtesies. Look at what is going on in Parliament today. This same attitude. When Bishop Charles appealed to Rome, Rome sent somebody. I've always asked the Catholics who Rome sent. But the top echelons of the church was so deeply supportive of the revolution that they shocked. They never realized that Marxist-Leninists used them. The Marxist-Leninists don't believe in God. They're atheists. They use the church because of the impact and the influence the church have on the proletariats. That's why they use the church. And church members ought to know that Marxist-Leninists have the least respect for you. They think religion is the opium of the people. They say religion is the coke of the people. And in the Caribbean, particularly in Grenada, we have a lot of sympathizers of Marxist-Leninism. I always kicks on my communist brothers and sisters. They're in America. They're in Canada. They go in England. They used to be in Grenada calling you counter-revolutionaries, CIA agents. Come on! You want to turn back the revolution. All the hardline communists make for America. Never go in Cuba. Never go in Germany. Never go in Czechoslovakia. Don't want to go in Russia. Stay away from Guyana. They don't even go in Jamaica. They want to see Old Glory, America. That is the level of hypocrisy. They're in America now supporting the Democrats. And all of them communists supporting the NDC. Because they see hope again. 3,000 Grenadians went to prison. One sister from a community, she eventually turned a politician and ran for election. She was arrested. They came to have a meeting in the community. Nobody turned up. They want to start a woman organization. They stop in a shop. And some back and front and shoe over cheese. So they go and call the PRA and they had her in jail. Maurice Bishop didn't sign that order. So after 2 or 3 weeks, she come out. But her husband used to bring her baby for her to nurse twice a day. And I guess all this like a sympathy, and he crying when he go, they let him go. And they were supporters of Bishop. You hear Deacon asking for the real NDC? He has not been publicly chastised. Not even by the Caribbean leaders that was here. They did not chastise Deacon. When Deacon speak, you have to remember he's the Prime Minister of Grenada. He said the only reason the others get in, you're saying you don't get in, but the only reason the others get in, we don't know who the real NDC is. So he's encouraging the NDC to bring news on the brothers. Let them lose their job. Let them starve. Where are we going? Can this country arrest this behavior? Could we tell the other members of the NDC, Deacon may have enough money to protect himself, to live in gated community? He has sugar daddy that could protect him. Run! And Tevin Andrew, who is going to protect you? Would you have enough money when you lose election? Or when violence come in front of your doorstep, would you have money? Tevin Andrew. It's Tevin Andrew in Carrico, I believe. You cost the police. You cost the police. You say yes. You cost them. Not you alone. The NDC members are very arrogant and disrespectful. Do you expect to stay in power all your life? Mr. Tillman Thomas gave up the government vehicle 2 days or 3 days before election. Mr. Tillman Thomas gave up the vehicle 2 or 3 days before election because he didn't want what was done to Kit Mitchell to be done to him. The very night Kit Mitchell and the NNP lost election, before the final count, before the official count, the NDC militant arm took the vehicle for him at gunpoint. And permanent secretaries were prevented from entering the office. Some permanent secretaries, the permanent secretaries, they believe that was perceived to be NNP members, they could not have entered the office the morning after election, before the official result. The NDC always have a militant arm. Who directs the militant arm in the NDC? Ask this question. Who directs the militant arm in the NDC? Is that the militant arm Deacon calling on to enact violence against the opposition? I could only read Deacon's action based upon what he says, what he does, and history. I'm not any scientist. I'm an ordinary rustic with simple logical mind. So I listen to what you say, I watch what you do, and I study your history, and I come to a conclusion for my own survival. What are you intend to do with social media, Bajan? Prior to the election, the only people that was on social media was the NDC. Some of the NNP was poor people and they didn't know about the technology. The only member of NNP top echelon that was on social media slightly active was Kate Lewis. Kate comes from a teacher. Kate was a teacher, so she was slightly active. And I saw efforts to intimidate her even then. No, you have a number NNP that following suit on social media. And Deacon Mitchell is threatening. What I heard from his mouth is threatening social media badgering. Deacon Mitchell, are you sucking your militant arm against these people? I am concerned. And I see no justification for the Prime Minister of Grenada to incite violence against people. I notice the journalist, the doctor of journalists, the cyclist in journalists, and the photogenic one is practically silent. When violence comes, you can tell. Sometimes you get lashed too. Sometimes Deacon's militant arm mistake you for not being a real NDC. Sometimes they mistake you. They say you're not a real NDC. The man that start young songs, the radio station, some names too. Are you a real NDC? The photogenic one, are you a real NDC? The doctor in journalism, are you a real NDC? So Deacon's militant arm in the NDC may mistake you. You better start to wear yellow jersey. I speak because I want to provoke discussion. I honestly believe that we could change things in Grenada. We could provoke discussion. We could discuss the issues. And we could avoid another disaster. We could avoid another bloodshed. I take the strongest objection to leaders inciting violence. And I come to the conclusion that Deacon Mitchell, the Prime Minister of the NDC, is maliciously and deliberately inciting violence. I've advanced some arguments. Why? But if I have new information, I'm going to change my opinion. So I invite you to take me on. Advance new information to prove otherwise. And I will come back and change my view. But based upon the policy, based upon the attitude, based upon the utterances, based upon the language, based upon the empirical evidence of the political activists and the militant people on the ground, I am convinced that Deacon Mitchell is inciting violence against the opposition leadership and the ordinary members of this country. I believe, based upon our history, this is wrong. Nobody benefits from violence. No one benefits. No business benefit. What you would have is some NNP children realizing that the ground in Grenada is no longer fertile for their economic development. And those who are able, going to go to other countries. Those who are not able, crapo smoke the pipe. You would find groups in the community not being able to survive. Because once you draw such fractious line in Grenada, groups would not survive. Groups will not survive. So as we come to the end of the program today, I want to encourage our political activists and our journalists We have a call on the line? Yes, caller, welcome.
Hey, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Listen, man. Mr. Pierre, it's more serious than we think. Mr. Pierre, what we have to be careful in. I want the opposition leader. I want you to test the temperature in Grenada. The reason why I'm saying that, Mr. Pierre, based on the leader, what's coming from his mouth, his action in parliament, his surrogates out there. Mr. Pierre, anybody, this man higher in the police force or the army could be a political criminal. Anybody he hire based on what criminal from he could be a danger to public. So what I would like to see Miss Pierre to do, if she have to get a permit, call out your supporters and have a match. And let's see the army and the police, let's see the action towards she and her supporters. And from there, we go know if we have to prepare for another Hooville, if we have to prepare for you shutting down, if we have to prepare for you going to be locked up when you talk, Andre Donald, Carl Caton, she will have to do that. Don't wait too long before she did it. Because the attitude of these people, that is what's going to happen. What they're preaching is a one-man state, and it seems like what they want to do is anything is necessary. Mr. Pierre, I would like to see that happen, man. Thank you, man.
Yes, I think what we need is the voices in Grenada. The trade union, the civil organization, the business sector to start to ask the journalists to wake up and ask the Prime Minister, are you inciting violence in Grenada?
Mr. Pierre, listen to something. When I came here in 1982, that time Bonham was in office. There was a young guy, there was a factory close to where I was living, and there was a young guy that now came from Guyana and he was working there. And you know what he told me? He told me he was in the army. You see, and all of them, they had the opposition, the home phone number, the address, where they live. He was a political, oh my God. He told me the platoon. That is all they was doing, trading on the opposition. We could have something like that in Grenada. And that is not if it don't happen already. The opposition, all information about them.
Yes, caller, we have to thank you because we got to go. We come to the end of the program, but Guyana is 83,000 square miles, and Guyana is almost bigger than England. England is 44,000, so Guyana is almost twice the size of England. So that might have been necessary in Guyana. In Grenada, we always know one another, you know? So I just want to provoke discussion, but I'm very serious on the issue, and do hope others who, even though you disagree with me, examine what I say and please find out from Deacon why he's inciting violence in a country like Grenada. Thank you very much.